On a calm yet dark and eerie October night, you walk through your neighborhood as residents go about their nightly routines. The distant hoot of an owl echoes in the air. If fortunate, you'll spot one perched on a nearby tree, gazing intently. As you head home, you think everything is normal. However, just as you turn the final corner to reach the warmth and safety of your house, you hear an unmistakable distant whistle of a steam train. The echo from far away is being carried by the wind as it sings its haunting serenade across the landscape. The distinctive Norfolk and Western hooter whistle is primarily heard on its Class Y 2882s and Class A 2664 steam locomotives. In this week's episode, leading up to Halloween, we'll listen to more of these whistles. This is the third episode of the NNW saga in the Revival Steam podcast series. I am Alec Butler, the narrator, sound editor, and host of this fictional railroad-themed podcast. It shares stories about what a world of 21st century American revenue trains, powered by new and improved steam locomotives, might look like. For this week's Halloween episode, we'll explore Virginia and West Virginia to showcase the first all-mainline RS event on the former Norfolk and Western lines. Our first destination is the Shenandoah Valley Line, where we will hear Y-Class 2882s hauling freight trains and K-Class 482s pulling passenger trains throughout 4 nights. We'll also observe some local freights on this route, pulled by various engines. Next, we'll go to Williamson, West Virginia, to capture yard activity, then visit Rawl, West Virginia, to hear more trains on Halloween night. This is the first time since 1960 that NNW Steam is seen pulling revenue trains. It promises an exceptional spectacle. So, settle into your chair, turn out the lights, and close your eyes. Let's imagine a future journey to witness a grand steam-powered haunting as the spirits of the Norfolk and Western steam engines once again take to the main line. During this event, we'll start by exploring the former NNW Shenandoah Valley Line, which extends northeast from Roanoke to Hagerstown, Maryland. The Blue Ridge Mountains along the route offer a breathtaking scenic backdrop, enhancing acoustics and causing whistles to echo vividly as trains pass through the valley. Originally constructed as the Shenandoah Valley Railroad between 1867 and 1890, the line came under NNW control in 1890 and is now a key route for NS. Most of the route features gentler grades than other mountain lines of the NNW, providing an excellent setting for our upcoming steam locomotives to showcase their whistles and enjoy their clear echoes. On Sunday, October 26, we'll enter the area from Michigan, starting on the Shenandoah Valley Line. Our first stop to capture the sound of steam is in the small town of Ripon, West Virginia. Later, at 4:30 p.m., there will be a meeting between 2 trains. The first, coming from the southwest, is the northbound RS Weekend passenger train from Roanoke to Hagerstown, led by the Tribute Streamline K482 number 131. It will pull into the siding to let the second train pass. That train will be NS Manifest 11Z, which runs daily between East Binghamton, New York, and Roanoke, and is one of the 4 road trains on this route, with the other 2 running during the day. Today, NNW Tribute Y6A number 2123 leads the train, whistling its traditional sound as it moves south. After the freight passes, number 131 and its passenger train will continue north to Hagerstown. Witnessing this mainline meeting with NNW Steam is an extraordinary start. Listen, watch, and enjoy. We will revisit Ripon later with number 131, as it will soon undertake another night trip. Currently, we head 32 miles south to our first overnight stop, Front Royal, Virginia. After checking into our hotel and having dinner around 7 p.m., darkness will fall. Despite this, we'll try to catch the only N&W steam train here, hearing a distant whistle from the south. An NS local freight, K-47, is returning from Shenandoah, Virginia, 42 miles further south. This train operates only from Sundays to Thursdays. Luckily, today is a Sunday. It's powered by an original N&W engine. Surprisingly, it is the preserved 480 number 1134, part of the M2 Mastodon class built in 1910 by Baldwin and the Roanoke shops, with 61 units produced. Today, only 3 remain, including number 1134, which we will hear along with the other 2 later. These 3 were among the 4 engines stored in a Roanoke scrapyard until being rescued in 2009. Let's listen and imagine number 1134 being restored and running for RS events, as at 7:15 we will hear it pulling NSK 47 back toward Front Royal in the darkness along Little Egypt Lane and south of the South Fork Shenandoah River. After catching this train, we will briefly return to Ripon to watch the return trip of the RS Daily passenger train from Hagerstown, heading back to Roanoke overnight. Once again, Tribute K number 131 puts on a show as it departs Ripon heading south. It is dark, and with Halloween approaching, it feels like seeing a ghost from the past roaming past you. It is there 1 minute, gone the next. After staying overnight in Front Royal, we'll enjoy some recreational activities on the morning of Monday, October 27th. Following lunch, we'll take the afternoon to rest, as we'll be staying up late that night. Dinner will be served around 7 p.m., after which we'll drive approximately 30 minutes to our next destination, the small town of Luray, Virginia. We are positioned at the station next to the Campbell Street crossing on the north side of the tracks. However, the crossing bells will be turned off due to construction during our visit. This change has little impact on us. Although we won't hear locomotive whistles during our session in Luray tonight, the passing trains, whistling or not, are still significant. We expect to hear 5 trains all pulled by NW steam. It will be dark by then. The area remains somewhat active, but mostly quiet. But that won't last long. 15 minutes after arriving at the station and setting up our gear, we hear a train approaching from the south. It is the first train of the night. It's an empty coal train, NS 579, is heading back to the mines near Shires Oak, Pennsylvania from Norfolk, Virginia. The engine hauling this train is Tribute Y5 2882 number 2119, which in turn is part of a fleet of 10 locomotives rebuilt from Y4 2882s that were first built in 1930 at the Roanoke shops. While none of the original engines still exist, they are making a comeback. The train seems to be relatively short tonight, but you will hear the clanking of the rods reminiscent of the Y-class engines from the age of steam. Listen carefully, and you will see what I mean. The next train to emerge from the darkness at Luray is the same NS local freight K47 at 8 p.m. Once again, an M2480 engine pulls the train south through Luray towards Shenandoah. This time, it's an original number 1118, which is currently owned by the Roanoke chapter of the National Railroad Historical Society. You might barely hear the chugging and clanking of the rods, resembling a steam locomotive in urgent need of repair. However, for 1118 tonight, they are not an issue. Moving up the line from the station, it will be around 11 p.m. as the next train to pass is coming from the north. We can hear more intense chugging from NS Manifest 15T. This daily freight runs from Allentown, Pennsylvania to Irondale, Alabama. It departed Allentown at around 8 p.m. and is running slightly behind schedule due to construction that limits the speed of passing trains. The engine on tonight's trip as far as Roanoke is Y6 Tribute number 2120. Being a rugged locomotive, the engine works hard through Luray, putting on a dramatic stack talk show as it slows through town, accelerates in the distance, and fades into the gathering darkness. To add some Halloween flair, we will include a quick fade in and out, making it seem like another train passes the freight seconds before flying past the station. But 30 minutes will pass before the northbound RS-related passenger train from Roanoke to Hagerstown, pulled by the next-in-class Streamline K482 number 140, quickly clips by us at high speed without stopping in Luray, heading north and vanishing into the night. This segment, which is over 7 minutes long, still captures a great Halloween vibe. Let's see if you are brave enough to hear the real ghost trains of the NNW. At midnight, the fifth and final train will pass through Luray. It is a freight train, 12Z, running from Roanoke to Enola, Pennsylvania. The steam engine will reach Hagerstown, Maryland, where diesel locomotives will take over. Tribute Y6A number 2164 leads the train tonight, slowing as it approaches the construction zone and then accelerating again, heading north into the night. Another NW ghost has haunted Luray, but this is where we will conclude our session and return to Front Royal for the night. Today is Tuesday, October 28th. After sleeping in and having a light breakfast at the local roadhouse, we'll once again enjoy recreational activities around Front Royal before heading south for over an hour and a half to our next stop along the Shenandoah Valley Line. We are in Waynesboro, 79 miles south of Front Royal, nearly the halfway point on the line. By 9 p.m., an hour after dinner, we'll set up near the station. A steam train is parked in the siding waiting patiently for another to pass. This is the southbound Arch-related night passenger train pulled by a tribute locomotive, the Streamline K482 number 124. It's waiting patiently for our southbound freight from the north to pass, specifically NS11Z from Binghamton, New York, heading to Roanoke. Tribute Y6A 2882 number 2160 has taken over the train in Hagerstown and will power the freight for the rest of the journey. Note that there will be some fading in and out as 20 minutes pass after 2160 went by. At 9:20 p.m., number 124 and its passenger train will get clearance from the dispatcher to head south to Roanoke. The whistles echo through the area, reminiscent of scenes captured by steam photographer O. Winston Link around 70 years ago. Hopefully, he would be pleased that future generations could continue to appreciate and preserve this piece of history. After 124 disappears, half an hour will pass, but that calm moment will reignite our motivation, driven by the upcoming NW movement in Waynesboro. It features a northbound light engine, Tribute Y4 2882 number 2103, representing the group built in Roanoke in 1930, with none remaining today. Engine 2103 is heading to Shenandoah to help with the local freight trains. Although we won't hear its whistle, the clanking sound as the engine passes creates a pleasant atmosphere for this time of year. This will also be our last soundtrack in Waynesboro before we check into a nearby motel for the night. Wednesday, October 29th is the next day. Our main plans include traveling to Roanoke to visit the Virginia Transportation Museum and the Old Winston Link Museum. After a good rest, we'll hike on nearby trails in the afternoon before heading to our last stop on the Shenandoah Valley Line, before moving on to Williamson. We are in the suburbs of Roanoke at a junction situated along Norfolk and Western Avenue in Cloverdale, Virginia. This will be the site of 3 train observations. The first, a northbound NS Manifest 12Z, is scheduled to pass at 7 p.m. This time, it features the Y62882 tribute engine, number 2185, leading the train to Hagerstown. This locomotive exemplifies the Y6B class, renowned for its cast steel beds with integrated cylinders and boosters. While 30 of these famous American mallets were built at Roanoke shops in 1948, none are still in existence today. Still, we hope that they will be brought back to life and join RS events. Now let's get back to the event. We hear Tribute Y6B number 2185 slowly passing through the junction to clear a signal ahead. It then accelerates and disappears into the night. Just when you think the soundtrack is over, there's another fade in and out after skipping 20 minutes. NS local freight V81 is returning from Glasgow, Virginia, 46 miles from Roanoke. Handling the train into Roanoke is Tribute Y4A number 2104, which seems eager to return to the city so the crew can finish their work for the day. Still, they are doing so safely. This may be a lot to explain, but this is what the sounds of N&W steam near their former home are all about. The final train arriving tonight at Cloverdale Junction is another local freight V82. According to the schedule, this night shift train leaves Roanoke Yard around 11:30 p.m. and runs on only weekdays. Once again, a preserved M2 480 number 1151 leads the train. This engine is an upgraded version of the M2C class and is currently part of the VMT Museum collection in Roanoke, awaiting restoration from its scrapyard condition, along with the other surviving M2s. The engine will be used for RS operations in switching and local tasks, such as this. We hear number 1151 coming off the Shenandoah Valley Line onto the branch to Lone Star, Virginia. We will decide not to chase the train, as our intentions are to capture the sounds of trains in the distance only. We will head to our hotel near the yard for the night. This marks our last sound of revived NW steam on the Shenandoah Valley Line for this visit. On Thursday, October 30th, we plan to spend most of the morning swimming at our indoor hotel pool in Roanoke. After having lunch at noon, we will do an RS presentation at the Roanoke Transportation Museum to promote this event and the RS movement. Later, we will pick up our cars and start heading west to Williamson, West Virginia at 3 p.m. Just as we get there, we hear chatter on the radio about a train from the north, which prompts us to travel 6 miles north of Williamson to Nolan, West Virginia. There, a southbound NSMT coal train, number 553, is completing its journey into Williamson. It came from the Union Pacific in Proviso, Illinois, and was picked up by NW Steam in Columbus, Ohio. The train is powered by Tribute Y6B 2882 number 2173. We hear the engine's whistle as it passes the crossing in Nolan, marking one of the first mainline runs into Williamson for NW steam since 1960. This scene hints at the haunting experience we will witness tomorrow night, Halloween. Friday, October 31st, is Halloween. After a good night's sleep, we spent the morning hiking and enjoying some holiday festivities in Williamson. In the afternoon, we will visit a local library and for the rest of the afternoon, promote the event. At last, night has fallen. Around 6 p.m. shortly thereafter, the sun disappears behind the western mountains. We begin to catch the action at the engine terminal, where we see various next-in-class and tribute engines of the NW resting for the night. Many of these we will hear in future episodes. The first piece of movement in this area that we will capture as our first Halloween treat is Tribute K2 Streamline 482 number 130. It comes into the servicing area after disconnecting its RS-related passenger train from Bluefield. The engine rings its bell as it will soon be put to bed for the night before the weekend's activities, which, as a note, we will not capture. We will keep the capturing process ongoing. After number 130 drips by, we hear tribute Z1B 2662 number 1352 switching coal hoppers in the yard, preparing them for coal shifting crews to take them to nearby mines. Amid this action, we will hear another engine moving past us, heading to pick up its train in the yard, the remaining Y3 2882 number 2050. Then we will listen to more of 1352 as it returns to continue its late night shift in the yard. This is no graveyard with ghosts roaming around. It is real. NW's steam has been revived, as we imagine a scene coming alive again. We are positioned on the north side of the yard, waiting for our first train tonight. We spot an approaching train and respond quickly as we consider what we might observe at Rawl, West Virginia. This is the Norfolk Southern mine run from Scarlet Glen, about to enter the yard. Tribute Y6B number 2192 pulls the train. The engine smoothly approaches the switch and signals the flagman with 5 long whistle blasts that echo throughout the yard and the surrounding mountains. Once approved for entry, the bell rings and the train slowly moves in to complete its work for the day. Meanwhile, a distant whistle is heard as the engine's bell rings. A yardman informs us that this whistle belongs to number 2050, possibly heading out to the Grundy branch with a supply train bound for Page, West Virginia. This scene could easily be one you imagine hearing on a night like Halloween. Enjoy and don't be afraid. After this, we travel 5 miles southeast to the location where we will capture most of the action tonight, Rawl, West Virginia. We set up at the Rawl Bottom Road crossing on the double-track main line of the NS Pocahontas Division, which was formerly owned by Norfolk and Western. The town is quiet tonight, as most residents attend a Halloween festival in Williamson. Aside from the wind and the steady flow of the Williamson branch of the Tug Fork River nearby, we hear almost nothing. An owl hoots in the distance, adding to the serene, slightly spooky scene. However, this peaceful atmosphere is about to be disrupted by the spirits of the steam locomotives that once traversed these same NW rails. We will showcase the remaining sounds in soundtracks, letting you hear multiple trains on a single track. The action starts at 7:30 p.m. The first soundtrack features 2 trains. The first is NS Manifest 19M, traveling from Crewe to Elkhart, Indiana. Until it reaches Portsmouth, Ohio, this train will be steam-powered. The tribute locomotive leading it is Tribute Y6-2882 number 2143. The engine whistles beautifully through Rawl as it rumbles towards Williamson for a water stop. Then it will go quiet for a half an hour. The second part of this sequence shows a light engine heading to Williamson for servicing. The engine speeds down the grade, and its whistle echoes with the spookiest and most beautiful NW hooter chorus we've ever heard. The whistling grows louder, and the spirit reveals itself as it passes. This engine is a tribute to Y6B 2882 number 2186. Since it's dark and only a street light illuminates the scene, we hear the trains long before we see them coming. Let's imagine we are there in the future, recalling this scene as part of the past. Now we move to the second soundtrack featuring 2 steam trains in Rawl. 40 minutes later, the third train ascends the grade with a double header. This is a loaded NS Coal Train 81W heading to Gilbert, West Virginia. The double header includes tribute locomotives Y6 number 2145 in front and Y6A 2155 behind. These engines pulled the train toward Gilbert about 32 miles away. 15 minutes later, another train passes Rawl. It's NS Grain Train 51V, coming from Columbia, South Carolina, and heading back to the plains. Until Canova, West Virginia. Tribute Y6A number 2159 will power the train tonight. As it passes, listen carefully. Just before the clanking rods of 2159 fade, you'll hear more rods clanking. This is because behind number 2159 is Tribute Y6B 2179, moving dead in tow. The engine probably had minor rod issues in Bluefield and is being transferred to Williamson for repairs. With all of this activity, it's a busy night for us. The final soundtrack in this episode features sounds of 2 additional trains. The first is NS Coal Train 828, moving from Williamson to Lambert's Point, Virginia. It is pulled by Tribute Y6B number 2195, which struggles but easily hauls the heavy-loaded coal train, creating considerable noise as it nears our position. This engine doesn't work alone. It is assisted from behind by another Y6 Tribute, Y6A number 2166, pushing the heavy-loaded coal train uphill toward Bluefield, where the helper will soon be detached. It is 9:05 p.m., and Halloween festivities in the area are winding down. 20 minutes later, at 9:25, we will catch our final train for this NNW Halloween RS event. Another NS coal train moving slightly faster than the previous coal train. NS 40T travels from Dwight, Illinois to Harrisonburg, Virginia, carrying grain loads for the Consolidated Grain and Barge Company. The train on its late night shift is being led by Y6B Tribute 2882 number 2171, which whizzes past us and like a ghost vanishes into the darkness, leaving the area silent once again. This is where we will say goodnight, staying overnight in Williamson before returning home to Michigan on Saturday, November 1st. This marks a remarkable and fitting beginning to Norfolk and Western Steam's full-time comeback on the main line. We can picture the spirits of those who grew up around or saw the action along these tracks, such as old Winston Link. We can imagine how proud he would be of us recreating what he saw during the final days of mainline steam in America. Though I can't use the sounds from his albums, I am thankful to others who allow me to use sounds that help you picture what it would be like if these legendary locomotives returned to the tracks they were meant to run on. We will return in the next episode during Thanksgiving, featuring another famous line that hosted the last of the breed. In conclusion, I want to thank David Sadowski of the Trolley Dodger, the Railroad Record Club, James Bird's family in Australia, Jay Wynn, Bill Muty from Australia, and North Jersey Records for providing the sounds that made this episode possible. I also appreciate my Aunt Elizabeth Tremblay for her dedicated work editing my scripts. I look forward to our next NNW adventure. So there's nothing more to add. This is Alec Butler from Revival Steam, wishing you a good night and a happy Halloween.